What's going on, everyone? It's Mitch from Respect My Region back with another episode of the RMR Podcast. Today, have special guest, my guy Luke, LMC. What's up?
What's up, G? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Every episode, I kick it off the same way, man. I'm really curious about our guest uh, and their relationship with cannabis and when that first started.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just checking out for stream. I think we're streaming on the other one. Yeah, so I've been involved with cannabis for a while. I'd say like really 13, 14. Pretty much, yeah. Then I was in the then I went kind of into medical. I was like a teenager, funny enough, into the Washington State, Seattle market. And then some stuff had happened, and then I kind of moved into I happened to just get put into the recreational market here in Washington State. And then I started, working for a company called Space Weed. Then I worked for some other companies, and that's where I think I ended up meeting you guys right around then, pretty early on, dude. Yeah, you guys reached out pretty quickly, and I appreciate that a lot too, because you guys gave me a lot of guidance and a lot of games. So yeah, that's when I met you guys. So that was about how many years? Like what? 5 years ago now at this point? 4 years ago?
Oh, probably more than that. Probably like 6, man. Like,
Yeah.
has to be like 2018.
Yeah, dude. No, like 28. No, it was like right around. I think it was 2018. Actually, you're right, because I started right around in 2018, and yeah, I just kind of started. That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. So yeah, so I started there, and then just started. I started working with a company called Space Weed, and there was just a ton of. I just saw a ton of problems, as I'm sure you did, within the cannabis market, and just a lot of like it's just really hard for the small entrepreneur to win. And I'm an aspiring cannabis entrepreneur myself, and so I just was like, hey, let me just start creating content. I knew we were kind of in the era of, I saw back in 2017, I saw like some article. I was like the headline of Forbes, which is it's funny. It was like youngest billionaire ever, and it was like Kylie Jenner, which she's not like she was like these like said youngest self-made, which is not she's not self-made, but what that showed me though was, oh shit, this is like the era of like, I mean, she literally made that whole fortune off of just influence, right? So, and I don't really like the term influencer, right? But I do think that the terminology of influence is prevalent in anything that's people are now buying online more than ever, and that means you have to influence people online to purchase stuff. So overall, sorry, it's a roundabout way to explain. That's kind of how I, got into all this initially with cannabis, though. Yeah, I've just been involved with it forever. It's just every time I try to leave, dude, it just keeps pulling me back in. But no,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we've known each other for a while, and through that, right, known a little bit of your past. So definitely been around the plant a lot. And I remember early on when you were starting, doing the different content types and starting to kind of just like A/B test. And I even remember talking to you, were like, bro, I'm just about to spend the next, I don't even remember, months, you're like in the trenches, just figuring out how YouTube works. And then I remember when you're like, bro, I figured it out. I got it. I'm about to go on a run. And then it was like, soon after that, you really like, I felt like honed in on this, on really with like the high design and the LMC, and just started pumping out these like docuseries at a high level, just telling obviously stories about the cannabis industry that are really well known within the culture and the industry, but not really told on a big platform. What kind of like got you a little bit to that point? You know what I mean? I know you're messing around with different types of content and video. Like what did it take for those things to click?
yeah, it's funny. I mean, I would say what got me to like really go all. Are you saying what got me to go like all out, or what got me to like get these certain?
Yeah, well, what was like the tinkering in your mind to get to that point where you like, you're dabbling in different types of content and then you like figured it out? Like what were those things that kind of clicked for you as far as content?
Yeah, so I would start out with saying like, for me, I was kind of at a time in my life where I was pretty desperate, so I kind of was just trying everything and like not desperate like I was just desperate like to like succeed in a lot of ways. I kind of felt like I had no other option but to succeed. That's kind of the mentality I had, and I think that that mentality can help a lot of people. It also can turn some people wrong down the wrong path and destroy their whole life, right? But I would say like that 100%, you know was a mentality I had, and I kind of just went all out. So I was willing to like put myself out there, make myself kind of like look stupid, quote unquote. Willing to fail, right? Which I think is the really important first part of content creation in terms of putting yourself out there and being successful. But what made me click is I honestly really I should have tried way more formats, but it's hard to do because you want to pick a format, you want to try a few different formats, see what works best, but it's hard to see like how much time do you put into that format before you say, "Oh, let me try another one." Right? That's the question. So it's interesting, like it's tough like for that kind of measurement, but I've been doing a lot of news kind of breakdown, a lot of like strategic, analysis of like different business, because I thought like, let me just go learn myself while I'm on camera. Let me go like observe, learn, say some things that I see, you know, and I'm going to be able to put out content while also learning myself, right? So I'm learning with the audience. And it was very like kind of slap and go kind of content where I kind of just did it at the exact just like I would put out 3 videos a day, and that would be me in my parents' basement, you know, literally just surveying news and trying to hit, make sure I put out at least 2 to 5 different pieces of content a day individually. And it'd be like a Zoom recording, and I would just share the screen and I would talk about different news pieces. Now, that was for about, like, I don't know, I would say I did that for like right at the very like beginning of the pandemic is when this all started for YouTube for me. And so I put out a lot of volume, like just so much volume. Like I put out like the first year I did YouTube, I put out 900 and like 30 something plus videos. I was trying to hit 1,000 videos in a year, which is just
Crazy.
crazy, right? So I like calculated, right? Like I think there were 6 days where I missed not putting up multiple videos, or like maybe like 6, like the entire year. Like I didn't, and those are like times where like I literally wasn't able to be in front of a computer or any of that. I would say though, like eventually I picked my head up, right? Because sometimes I think it's good to have your head down, just grinding, trying to just get to a certain level. But once you go so far, you need to pick your head up and start to look around and be like, okay, how can I do this differently? You need to start to think smarter, not harder. And I think I think I went a little overdid a little bit with the amount of content volume, because I was, when I was researching, how to be a successful YouTuber, people, I saw some interesting strategies. Some people were saying, well, hey, like if you put out 10 videos a day and they're all get 100 views, then that's 1,000 views. Right. And it's like, so, and I heard that, and nowadays when I hear that, I don't want to cringe, but I kind of like, like, that's not really smart, because you're trying to work harder and you're not working smarter. You're trying to just put out sheer volume. And the thing about like the platform of YouTube now is that they have sheer volume. It's like, I think it's like 3,000 hours of YouTube content gets uploaded every single hour or something like that. Right. Like, so it's unbeatable. Like it's pretty insane. So YouTube is now looking for quality, right? And so anyway, we can get to that here in a little bit, but kind of goes around about. So eventually I was like, okay, I need to start trying something different. Let me I've kind of messed around a little bit with some scripting, right? This is all stuff I never really all self-taught, everything I never really got, I never had any experience doing anything before like this. But I was like, okay, let me my friend's a really good writer. He helped, he kind of helped edit some of my scripts initially. So he edited his first one. This first one was, I studied Burner quite a bit, and I knew a lot about him. And I was like, you know what? I could put together like a whole story, like his whole story together, and analyze that story, and maybe makes there's a lot of, if you look at that very first high design video I did, it's like there's a lot of analysis in there, because that's kind of the basis of a lot of the content that I initially started doing. But it's the so I ended up telling the story of what I do online, what I found online. I couldn't obviously get a hold of him at the time, and I didn't really know anybody around him. So I did a lot of research. So I told that story. I put that out. It took me a month and a half, and it shouldn't have taken me that long. But it was just the very first time I'd ever done that format, and so it just took me a lot longer than I would have liked. But that's okay. Good things take time. anyway, I put that video out, and I can then, I just put that video out. I continue doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm still putting out 3 kind of news clips, like business analysis, news clips a day. I put that out as well. And I'm like, I kind of forget about it, right, for a little bit. And I keep going. And then about like a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, it just hits 30,000, like 30,000 views, like 40,000. And then it all kind of clicked in my head. It still took me a little time still. And I continued to make that kind of content for a while after. But then I started to say, okay, this is maybe my main focus should be this kind of style, like a kind of scripted video essay, documentary, in-depth kind of analysis of companies and brands and the individuals behind that. And so that's kind of the basis of really, in general, how I would say YouTube, anybody that's trying to do YouTube should really look at is what is the data telling you? It takes time though to understand it. Pick your head up. It also is hard to like change and do new things. But that's really the important. That's what pivoting is. That's what the basis of really any business is does. You have to learn how to change. So I hope that kind of explains it. That's kind of the initial start. Is really I put out already like 1,000 videos before. Like, I think I put out like 800, 900 plus videos before I even did that first high design video. But it just kind of shows you like, just don't give up, and eventually you'll find something. If you keep trying new things and you keep working hard, you're going to be successful. It's literally just a matter of time.
100%, man. And it's crazy the concept, right? To get to the quality and get to the spaced out, it came from like a quantity of like understanding and just sharpening that skill, or all the skills, right? Of doing content. And that's definitely like reigns true, right? Like the best 3-point shooters in the world shoot a lot of shots in the gym, man. That's how they get there, right? It comes through repetition. And so that first interview you did, or that first docuseries you did was on Burner Cookies, correct? The first long form.
Yep.
And then how does it feel to then obviously recently, you had the chance to go to the compound and sit down and do the interview, because like you said, when you first did it, right, you didn't know, dude, you had no access. And now it's like you get the invite out there to create content, and that moment comes like full circle.
Yeah, it definitely comes full circle. I think, what's interesting is if you set your mind to something, and this is obviously the corniest thing ever, like, obvious. It's like you set your mind though, if you really want to, like, let's say you want to be like someone, or are you really like, I don't want to be like Brenner. That's not what I'm saying. But if you admire someone's, business, business practices and everything that they've done, if you try to go learn from them, try to talk to them. Right now, it's hard to do that. Right, it's hard to do that with especially people that are in high demand. Right, and I never really set this goal until later on, but I had this goal of like, I want to eventually, one of my main goals is to like interview Burner and, be able to do that. And so it was a really weird route how I got. So you're asking me how I got there again, or is that?
I mean, just how, you know what I'm saying? Like how crazy it is that moment came full circle.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of weird things that have come full circle. Like this year, really, it's been amazing to see. Like it really shows to me that like if you put in work, you consistently put in that work, and you stay true even when there's times where doubt comes in, you'll eventually reach it. But yeah, I mean it's a weird route how I got there with Burner, really. I mean it started just with me covering him a lot. I analyzed him. I look at who's like the best in the space doing it in like our sector, the kind of people that are coming from the culture, let's say. It was kind of a weird way to put it, but so I ended up doing that Burner video, been doing a bunch of other analysis videos on cookies. But what happened is eventually then I moved on to the second one, which was the Jungle Boys. And the Jungle Boys were really really dope, because Ivan reached out to me. He saw this little trailer I put out, and so I did that, right? And that's a whole other kind of story on its own. But shout out to Ivan, by the way. I always say shout out to Ivan. He really I had like no followers, and he sat down with me, told me his whole story, like really just put me onto a lot of game. And then finally after months and months, finally that one comes out, and that one really blows up, the Jungle Boys one, right? And what happened is Ivan he'd taken the trailer that I put out, or I'd sent him the trailer, and he posted on his Instagram, the main Jungle Boys one, and it blew up, and I saw Burner liked it, right? So then I was like, okay, I see like he's paying attention. He sees what it is. You know, and then I started to, you know, meet more and more people that were associated with him, that were associated with other entrepreneurs that I really wanted to meet and like talk to. And I realized, oh, this is like one of the perfect networking strategies is you use content as a way to learn, as a way to network with people, and as a way to kind of generate, you know, a following, right, an audience and a potential customer base in the future. And so so I kind of just started to meet new people, meet more people, started to do more of these documentaries on folks, and I just started learning. I mean, I literally, I'm not gonna say I'm an encyclopedia of like current cannabis, like, you know, strategies, kind of like news, all these different things. I know a lot, like, and it's just from like talking to different folks. That's what I always try to do. And so anyway, and then I eventually just started to kind of get in my journalism bag a little bit, even though I call myself kind of a journalist, but I wouldn't call myself like I'm a storyteller, I'd say. But I did some journalistic, you know, stories, right? Like I did some things like, and that's what I realized is you got to really, I think I've developed a lot of trust with my audience, and a lot of, you know, because I started to, you know, I started to do like just storytelling, but then I started to move into kind of pieces that were a little bit more journalistic and that were, you know, could be potentially negative in some people's eye, or not negative. Yeah, it could hurt some of these businesses that I was starting to, you know, not hurt them, but just like I was covering stories that were real.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and like when somebody says it's real, like, you know, that's when negativity, quote unquote, comes into the fray, right? You know, and then, you know, I started to kind of that burner. So we're kind of getting, I know we're kind of going all over the place with this, but I kept, you know, to get back to your question with the burner, I guess I started to get more and more, you know, videos that got more and more views. Like the Jungle Boys one blew up. And I think, I don't know, I would have to talk to him, talk to Brenner about it. I'd be curious, you know, I should have next time we do the interview, I'll have to ask him about this stuff. But I felt like, I don't know, I feel like Brenner was like at that point in time a little bit more like wasn't really trying to like maybe work with, I don't know. I feel like he had been burned by a lot of people in the past or whatever. Sure. I don't know. And I think that maybe he didn't really, you know, I think he's something that you know, you have to gain trust with in a certain way, but also just keep it real. The thing about it is I've done pieces on Burner that aren't the most flattering, but I've still like levied that into the, you know, be able to interview him, right? Because he knows that I'm at least going to be fair, right? So it's kind of a weird, you know, it's a weird route. Like some people look at some of the videos I've done, they're like, gee, like why would Burner sit down with you? You've done some videos that are kind of against him. It's like, if you really go watch the videos, they're really not that like, they're really just saying like, it's me being fair. It's not me being like malicious or anything. And I think that's what he respected. I think a lot of people respect that. And I think it allows me to go and do stories that are a little bit more journalistic in nature that, you know, have some negative aspects to maybe don't put people in the best light, but people are okay with that because it comes from a fair place. And I also am good about sandwiching that stuff in between compliments and other things as well. But
I'd say like that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, right? Like that I've always admired, and I've told you that it's like in the cannabis space, especially, and in media in general, but in the cannabis space and more of the culture where I'd say like obviously is your focus. Like a lot of the media or the attention, the content is so negative, whether it's covering just the trap side or over glorification of the trap side that could also potentially have some negative detriments, right? Like there's just a lot of negativity, and like you said, you cover controversies and disagreements, but it's never from a place of like taking someone's side, even in situations where I feel like it's pretty clear cut there's someone at fault, right? It's really from a place of just genuinely looking at it, stating the facts, no opinion. And then also, like you said, stating the facts of what's positive about everybody. You know, I've never seen you really just go in on anyone without providing positivity. And I think it has put you at a unique place where it continues to do that, but it's also a unique stance to see like take off. And another thing, sorry, I'm on a run, but another thing is that you've always, especially early on, were like, hey, I'm reporting on this stuff without talking to the source. If I'm wrong, correct me. I'll take this video down. I'll edit it. Like, call me on my shit. And you engage with people, right? Which is another unique standpoint. What does it take to do that, but then also be confident to put content out? Like, you're putting yourself in the world to be judged, but you're also like open, like welcoming, criticism or being called out for being inaccurate.
Yeah, I think best thing about me, like really like my quote unquote superpower is like just being able to put myself out there and being able to look stupid. Now it doesn't feel good to like put yourself out there and look stupid, but but it's a great way to teach you. It's a great way to learn, and I think that people need to realize like you're not gonna people are so afraid about getting judged in that moment. And there's some things that I've done that have like I mean, there's plenty of things I've done just in my past that have been embarrassing or just made me look stupid or and there's a couple things that have stuck with me a little bit that I think for in some people's eyes they'll actually at this point I think it's starting to get like there's actually very little of that because people don't remember the things that you fucked up on back in the past unless they're like big things, right? Like people don't remember you can change people's minds over time. It might be harder to change people's mind because
Mhm.
first impressions can make a big deal, but like I guarantee you there's people that thought I was a fucking idiot like 2 3 years ago that are now changing their mind on me, like, to be honest. And that's something that I think like people need to realize is they're not people are gonna they're gonna remember you from the last time they either talked to you or the last time they saw something from you or saw something about you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to, and I genuinely mean that. Like, don't like obviously be smart about things, but just really seriously, like especially people starting out, like just do a lot of volume. Like put a lot of stuff out there. Try to be, try to put the highest quality stuff out there you can. But some people, you know, I think a lot of I don't know. I grew up with like ADD and stuff, and it's crazy for me because like, dude, for me to sit down, write a whole, you know, 3,000 page, three not 3,000 word essay or script, then go edit it, and then go try to promote it. I mean, dude, like if you were to tell myself that like I was gonna be doing this like 6 7 years ago, 8 years, like I would have like laughed, bro, because I had a lot like really bad ADD. But that's the thing is there's a lot of things that I think there's like the pressure of like putting yourself out there publicly, I think can help some people, because a lot of people don't want to look stupid, right?
Mhm.
And I said, I'm not afraid to look stupid, but I don't want to look stupid, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's a great pressure and motivator to like really push people to like try to, improve, try to get better. Because I mean, I just got to the point in my life where I started doing this content. It was just like the lowest point of my life, really, actually. And it really, so I kind of I had this kind of benefit where I was like, I have nothing really to lose, like literally nothing to like lose. And so, and my whole mindset was just like, dude, I'm like in this tunnel right now, bro. And there's only one way out of this tunnel. It's going to be straightforward. That's the light. There's no going back. There's no turning back. There's no going up. There's no anywhere. It's just straight ahead. That's the light. And I literally have no other option but to go forward. Like, so it's kind of an intense kind of like, positioning in your head, but that's kind of how it was for me. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that part of the story, man. Because it's,
yeah,
I think it's an important, like a hard thing to do with content is putting yourself out there, and that's the thing, especially with like frequency, right? Doing 900 videos in a year, it's not just the work; it's also 900 times you have to turn on the camera and be like, I got to film myself, watch myself, edit myself, put myself out there for judgment, and that's a really difficult thing to do. But if you're first, not your first year, but if you go hard in a year like that, right, it becomes exponentially easier
yeah.
after that many repetitions. How important has it been? Like, obviously you have a, YouTube channel is kind of where you've built, I think, in these docuseries, right? That's really what really took off for you and got like the widest net. How has social media, I know you touched on it earlier with Ivan, the Jungle Boys posting the trailer. How is like social media ads to and like work in conjunction with YouTube nowadays?
You're saying social media. How does social media add to one more time?
Promoting YouTube videos, like bringing
Yeah,
awareness and traffic there.
it helps a lot for sure. I think it's the most you're going to get the big numbers from getting it swept up into the algorithm in YouTube. That's how you really get real numbers, like really big numbers, like tens of thousands of views. And it's funny actually. You know what? So I was actually thinking about this. I've been, because you constantly have to be researching YouTube. You constantly have to be like trying to update your strategy. And I think that's what's actually good is you want to drum up, um, you know, you want to let people know that this is out, but you don't want to actually link directly to it, which is kind of like a really niche kind. This is like a really specific attribute to YouTube, but getting a bunch of external links pointing to your YouTube video, it can be kind of beneficial for sure. But actually, YouTube wants they they would rather that somebody on YouTube go and just discover it, right? They want that
Mhm.
preferably. So I saw it, like, for example, like if you look at Mr. Beast, right, which everyone uses as an example for YouTube being, he's the best YouTuber of all time, right? Which I would agree. But it's anyway. There's a whole other argument with that. I wouldn't say the best YouTuber, but the one that knows how to like work the algorithm, right? He puts out, like, he'll tweet, said my video's out now, like, or like he'll like, and I've started to just let more. Like I still post some direct links, but you want people to go onto the platform themselves and then find it, right? Just a little side note, just a little side kind of little small detail kind of strategy, that there's thousands of these little small strategies that people can utilize to be better on YouTube. But yeah, promoting. It's funny. Like, my Instagram is really, really not that big as compared to my YouTube. I've got like 15,000 followers on that one, and I would really like, it's there's I think that each social media platform has its own benefit. I think you can create a lot of like community on the apps, obviously, like Discord and Telegram. Those are like, I mean, really Discord is a great one to create
Mhm.
community. But I think another, like let's say there's like a pyramid of like, or not a pyramid, but just levels to like intensity, right? So like if you want to create intense community, right, Discord's the place to do it. That's like the most strongest level of like community building, right? And then if you go one more level up, that's a little like, less intense. I think Instagram is a great one to create community on, because that's where a lot of the cannabis folks we kind of congregate on that platform. But like if you study, like I study a lot of different people, and I study, like, for example, like, shout out to the homies at First Smoke of the Day. What they've been, they have like 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, I think, roughly, or like something like that. I've got like double the amount, right? More than double. But they've got like 90,000 followers plus or something like that on Instagram, and they get a ton of great engagement over there. That's like their best platform, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's where you can kind of, if people then are watching your YouTube videos and then, engaging with you on Instagram, and then even more so are engaging on Discord. Discord's really tough because you need to have a full Discord manager that's their only job, which very few people can have that. And there's also, you have to have, it's hard to do that, but that's kind of separate thing. But
Mhm.
if you can have a lot of engagement on Instagram, and they're going to now watch your YouTube videos, you're starting to create that super viewer, that super fan, right? And then eventually, with like, with what they're doing, right? They do events now, right? And so people come in person, right? But the point I'm trying to say here is like, I think that each platform serves as they serve a different purpose in making someone become like um, I don't like someone that becomes a dedicated follower and a dedicated person in your community, your tribe. So I think that every platform has its own difference, right? So Instagram, I think, helps with the community building, I think, and then also kind of growing the audience potentially. I think like, it gives a face to these people, right? Because on YouTube, I have a bunch of subscribers, but I don't really know. Like, I can go through my subscriber list, but they're always like random. Like, they're not really
Mhm.
like specific. Like, I can't know who this is. I can't go check them out because they don't have anything on their YouTube. But on Instagram, you can do that, right? So that's where it becomes a little bit more, personal, right? I guess. So, and then Twitter's starting to kind of evolve, or X is starting to evolve, just because there's less, there's very little censorship over there, which I love when it comes to cannabis. And there's more, and that's starting to kind of serve as like a similar thing to what Instagram is too. It's kind of a community builder. Like
Mhm.
people, and, it's also become like, you know, I- I've been able to. So let me kind of go back on this a little bit. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but what's great about Instagram, Twitter, really those are the two big ones, is people that watch your content can then now comment back to you in like an open forum, right? It feels like, and you can, you can see their profile, they can see yours, and so that's where you can start to connect with the viewers, right? If that makes sense. And the thing about YouTube though, YouTube's the best by far with discoverability. Their algorithms are so powerful, and they can get anybody that's somewhat interested in your content, they'll get you your video, the video that that you put out if it's doing well enough, right? So each one is different, and it's really not about promotion in a sense. It's more about how do you build out a relationship with a viewer or a member of your community more extensively. So yeah,
that's a breakdown. I'm just taking notes to timestamp that for later. That's some game for the people out there, and just understanding those content types. And it's unique, right? Like for you to have the long form content pop off in an era where everything is volume, everything is micro, right? It's nice to see that long form. And I think I've been telling you that since your videos first started to pop, right? You look at the comments, you got people really watching the entire video. There's information given through the entire video, right? Like it's a fresh style of content that people aren't served, and especially in the cannabis industry, and double especially just on the lane and area of which you're reporting on. Do you still have that like desire to continue to put out long form content? Because I know you've obviously taken things to your own platform now, and I'm assuming that's probably just around ownership of the content and just monetization, which you can't really get within cannabis. But what's kind of the goal moving forward, bringing stuff into your own platform and adding that to that mix of social media and YouTube as well?
Yeah, so the first part really, I see someone, I don't know if it's on my stream or if it's on yours, but somebody says he was doing good docs, now he just cuts it up into clips and spreads them out over weeks. Very annoying. Okay, that's funny because I don't really do that much. I do that just with the burner interview because that's a separate thing. But yeah, I'm definitely always going to be doing these. I think putting out, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be doing this about cannabis, for quite some time, if not forever. Like I'll have my team, I want to always be doing this, but because there's a lot of work to still be done, but I definitely want to start to move into other, other genres as well to a certain degree. I think though, like, I'll always be doing this. I think that, we're going to have to probably adapt to the new formats, the new mediums that are coming. Like, I mean, in 10 people I don't think people really understand, but like in 10 years, we're not going to have computers, dude. We're not going to have like what we have like today. We really won't. Like people need to realize this. Like we're going to have like these VR headsets. I mean, it's going to be unfortunate, and I really don't. I think it's honestly probably be net negative for humanity. Not to get all. I think there'll be still people using screens. Like they'll still be using like phones and computers somewhat. But it's within 10 years, it's going to start to become a whole nother medium. Is going to become the VR and the AR. I mean the virtual reality and the augmented reality stuff, which is going to be really weird. And so, but that's a whole nother shift in everything. You kind of have to adapt or die, right? So am I going to be doing this same kind of content in 10 years? Definitely not the exact same kind of content because I'm going to be evolving, but it'll be within the same ethos of like, my main kind of goals with this is preservation. And then, obviously preservation of storytelling, which is a whole nother thing, kind of the future, like my kind of future goal of like everything. We can kind of go into that maybe later, but I have this goal. Like I really want to I want to have the entire the human population, everyone be able to tell their story and have that last generations, to come. That's another thing. Like I said, I don't want to go down that's a whole like business model / idea that I've been, percolating in the last few years. But yeah, so I think I will be. I think that things are going to change though. Obviously, with the stories are going to be told. So we're going to have to kind of move on to obviously the newer stories, and then also I think I've been quite some time now. Last couple of years, I've been working on a lot of psilocybin stuff as well. That I'm going to be I haven't really talked about very much. So there's some of that, but it's going to always be around storytelling. So yeah.
And how do you what do you feel like is the best way, right, for people that rock with you to support you, right? Because in the realm of YouTube, people usually get paid obviously off views, a very, very small amount. But I know obviously the subject matter that you cover limits that, strictly or explicitly, right? It's very difficult to monetize in that lane. So how can people, support LMC that want to support the dog, man?
Yeah, I would say so. And then that's kind of, I didn't really talk about the platform, the High Design by LMC platform, which is pretty much like it's like a Netflix style platform. It's a membership platform where you can go there and sign up for free. So I would at the very least recommend people go do that, because you're gonna get access to like 20 plus pieces of content that are, and like I think half of those or more are just exclusively on that platform. You can only watch them there. And it's like I said, it's free 99, 100% free. And so that's at www.highdesign.media. But if you guys go over there and you sign up for a monthly, subscription, or a quarterly or a yearly, that's definitely the best way, because that's why I really wanted to create this whole platform, is because I can guarantee that that platform is going to always be there. Whereas I can't guarantee that my YouTubes and my, my Twitters, my Instagrams, they're going to be there, forever, because you know how this can be. Obviously, they've taken down plenty of people before, and they're going to continue to do that. So I think it's really creating these different systems, of allowing people to have a backup slash, a platform that you control 100%, or not 100%, but 95% of it, pretty much.
Mhm.
And so like the platform that I have, like, the company I use, Uscreen, they host their own they host everything themselves. So it's not like Patreon, where they I think Patreon's just started to allow for hosting their own videos, but just because they have to compete now with people like Uscreen. But Patreon, first of all, too, they also ban some of their creators, which is like for stuff that they shouldn't be banning them for, which is a huge red flag to me. I mean, I'm a big free speech absolutist. I mean, it's really what's happening right now is like we're seeing all the institutions around free speech start to get destroyed because of a lot of different reasons. But people don't really understand how, like, what that means, like what are the implications of that. That's really bad. It's really bad. So, any sort of organization that bans people that are for anything besides, all of the things that you would get arrested for, I'm not really with that. There obviously should be some censorship in terms of like allowing people to not see kind of fucked up things, like, whatever it may be, but they shouldn't be silencing people. So
Mhm.
I think, though, sorry, like long roundabout way though, definitely guys go sign up for my free platform. There's a paid version of it too. But if you guys sign up there, that's where the main thing is I want to just make sure we can stay in contact, so I can, if something happens, there's a way to get a hold of each other. Right.
Yeah, yeah, that ownership, right? I've always said that, social media is land you lease, man. Websites and things like that are homes you own, land you own, and it's important as content creators to have, uh, form of ownership, just because, like you said, things can be deleted in a second, and monetization is nuts. So it's nice to have some form of control of that. What's like next? I know we talked a little bit about like forward thinking future, but what's like kind of the next step for you for the rest of 2024? What can people stay on the lookout for?
Yeah, we're going to be putting out a lot of different, documentaries, in terms of LMC. I'm really excited about this year because we're rolling out Retro Tech, which is kind of our equivalent to High Design, but it's really about genetics and breeders. We've got a whole documentary series dropping on, different cannabis breeders. We've been working on it pretty intensely for the last 6 months, and so we've got. I think the very first one that's coming out here probably next week is the Exotic Mike, documentary,
Mm.
which is cool. Which I think no one. I haven't. That's actually the first place. The first. I think it's the first place I've announced that. So that one's gonna be cool. We did some interviews with him, and we're building it. We're finishing up the script right now with that, and so, you
That'll be
know,
fire.
yeah, I'm excited. I really had a great conversation. We had a really good conversation with him, a number of them, and, yeah, and so we're gonna, we started Retro Tech to like tell the story about behind genetics, right? But we realized we're gonna continue to do that, but it's very hard to like just find little like to like interview people and just interview them about one genetic when we should just be talking about their whole life story, because we can come back around and plug those things in. So we're kind of pivoting a little bit from doing like we still have like the full on, like we just put out the OG video about a month ago, the OG Kush video. We're going to put out the skunk video is already out. It's actually available for early access at the on the High Design streaming platform. It's www.highdesign.media. But that one's out now. You can go watch that right now. It's going to be released here in a week or two, and then we're going to be putting out the Haze video, which has been, these are all kind of controversial videos that are, we try our best to stay, unbiased, and then we're going to do multiple volumes, I think, of each strain, because it's just really complicated. There's a lot of different, it can get really complicated, but yeah, so we're going to be putting out a whole breeder series though. Exotic Mike, Adam Dunn. Well, those are kind of the first three, I think, are Exotic Mike, Adam Dunn, and then who's our third? I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but those are the first two, I think. And then yeah, so I'm excited about that. So we're going to be having a whole breeder series, which is going to be really great. And then I'm starting to, I have some friends that are kind of Hollywood right now is kind of burning right now, which I'm kind of happy about in certain ways, because it's kind of like the old guard. It's kind of like the gatekeepers. It's unfortunate, because there's some people, I'm sure there's people that lost their job recently with all this kind of shit going on, but that's just what happens. Like with different industries, things have to evolve, things change. And I think right now what's happening is like there's the power is getting put back into the people's hands more so than rather than these gatekeepers, which I like. I would rather like the people decide what's good, not just a group of a small group of like high powered Hollywood folks. But anyway, Hollywood's starting to kind of slowly but surely crash and burn. The big blockbusters are really not doing that well these days. But that means there's a lot of really creative, really, really talented folks that are coming now out of that kind of burning building, and they're running to find, more independent, creator, independent creators to work with. And so I've had some friends of mine over the years that are, been involved with, Hollywood, but they've been helping me on the side with, different documentaries I've done. And so we're now talking to a number of different groups about like developing out kind of a cannabis storytelling studio that's like it's like, I love what 50 Cent's done with, with stars, and like, obviously most of that has to do with the cocaine trade, right? And kind of street crime, but I love what he's done. And I love, what Burner's doing with his, I went to like it's a whole studio, right? Like what he's built out. I wish, like when I was there, they had like these big warehouses. It's like a massive warehouse. It's like, it's dope. They're going to start shooting stuff there as well. And they're trying to kind of do a similar thing when it comes to, the cannabis storytelling on like the big screen, let's say, or like the middle screen, or whatever you want to call the shows. But that's also something that, I like, my whole job really is to find different amazing stories around cannabis and tell them. And it's actually a perfect kind of launch space to, move into, feature films or live action films, or doing, different shows. So that's another thing that we're starting to really work on. Me and my homie over at High Concept Entertainment. Shout out to my boy Dan. And we're talking with different groups about that. So, because right now I think we're moving it now as legalization starts to come more and more. The mainstream is going to start to adopt, more and more cannabis stuff, right? And there's a lot of stories that I think are 100% crazy enough / interesting enough / just entertaining enough to be on the bigger screen, to be on on a Netflix or a HBO or on the, like I said, on the big screen in different movies or whatever. So I've been working on that for quite some time. That's starting to come about. I know Burner and his group, they've been working on his own movie, which is super dope to see. But yeah, so that's kind of some of the stuff though that like I'm starting to look at. But I'll always, no matter what, be focused primarily always on the internet, on my own platform, on my YouTube audience, my base, right? I never forget about my base, because those are the people that were there from the beginning, that were always supporting, that deserve, you're the most attention by far. So yeah, that's just and then I got Space Weed as well, which is really dope. I'm excited to really start to build that out. That's going to be amazing. That's a company that I first started working with. Just became a part owner in that company, and we're going to be really trying to take this technology to the next. Really take this to the mainstream, educate people on it. So it's going to be that's going to be really fun. And then yeah, just working with different brands to help build out their media infrastructure. I do a lot of consulting on that side of stuff, and so there's definitely some more things I kind of left out there, but there's just a lot going on for sure, and I'm just excited to be able to uh, be doing those things. So yeah.
Hell yeah, multifaceted cannabis entrepreneur, but definitely, I mean, I see the streaming, something like that happening for you, for sure, man. The wave you've been on the content again, I got to give you flowers on that, man. You can
Thanks,
see
brother.
it, you can see it in the comments of people's on your video. People are tuning in, they're watching, they're engaged with it. People are waiting on it, building anticipation for these stories, and there's just no one else, just no platform telling a lot of these stories. So man, for people out there, if you guys want to find him, I know we co-streamed it, so there's some people on here that are from his channel, so you already know where to get at the guy at. But if you're not,
yeah, 100%. Let me say to you, everybody watching, I know there's about 20, 25 people watching. Man, I'm shadow banned as fuck on my YouTube right now. Like it's crazy. So by the way, guys, I gotta first of all give my flowers to Respect My Region and to my guy Mitch, because they've been doing it for a minute, and they've been doing, they know everyone. They've taught me so much. They've mentored me in a lot of different ways. So make sure to go over to their YouTube. Please do that. I'm serious. They got so many dope conversations over there, so many different pieces of content out there that are really useful, and really, like, if you want to learn about the game, go over there, because I mean, these guys know what they're talking about. It's just type in Respect My Region on YouTube, and all that. But I got to give you flowers though, my friend, because like I said, you're someone that I've looked up to quite a bit, especially coming up from us, both coming from Washington State. You're some of the first media, you and Joey are the first media people I really, clicked up with. So, and you guys have just been so consistent with the work ethic. And I've learned a lot. So I just want to give you your flowers as well, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Look at that. I'm trying to put you on, man. You can't be on here putting me on.
No. You got put both. Yeah.
No. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is the RMR Podcast. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can search the RMR Podcast. Plenty of interviews with cannabis industry professionals like my guy Luc, LMC. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We stay pretty regular with the content, so tap in. We'll see you guys soon.